What's up, friends? It's Sean Derrick here, bringing the September market update, which I know you care about because here in the greater Fredericksburg, Virginia area, we need to figure out what's going on in the real estate market so you can make wise decisions. So, we're going to talk about what the market means for sellers, what the market means for buyers. And one of these big questions right now is should you refinance? And how do you think through that? So, stick around for the entire episode so you can learn today. Okay, so let's jump into the numbers, y'all. Let's jump into the numbers. We're going to first start looking at availability. Now, the reason we look at availability at first is because this is inventory. And you and I know real estate or any economy is based upon supply and demand. So we're always looking at supply and demand. What is the supply? Well, the supply right now in the greater Fredericksburg area is 2396. So 2,396 homes are currently on the market active that are not under contract. That is 6% more than there was last month. Now, that's not a drastic percentage, though almost every single month this year, the inventory has increased month over month. And so that reality has been what we have been seeing in the real estate market. If you put your home on the market last April versus right now is a different market than we were in April because inventory is higher. Now, we're not like crazy high, but we are higher, and the buyer demand has not increased in regards to active shopping buyers. And we'll talk about how the buyer demand is increasing, but they're not active yet. Okay, so we will talk about that. All right, so availability. Really, what I want you to see is we are higher. We have more inventory, 6% more just this last month. Under contracts, we are about 4% lower month over month. So we have 1,378 homes are under contract. And really, what we've seen is inventory increasing, under contracts decreasing, creating this void, which is creating a little bit of a hardship for some sellers in regards to selling their houses at the price that they want because that gap is increasing. And just pop down to months of inventory. So if we have, almost 2,400 homes on the market and 1,400 actually went under contract this last month, we are right around 2.16 months of inventory. That is, I believe, the highest months of inventory that we've had here in the greater Fredericksburg probably since 2021, maybe 2020. So even though that is not high inventory historically, DC right now is experiencing 6 months of inventory. Their inventory is going wild. We're not experiencing that, though we are seeing the inventory increasing. So if you're in the greater Fredericksburg area and you kind of feel a change in the market, that's why is there's more gap between homes than there are buyers. Solds, we were also down 6% month over month, and we were down last month too. So that just makes sense. We have less under contract, we have less selling because there's less buyers that are motivated in the market. We hope to see a change happening here come October. But let's finish this up. Days on market. Well, all right, if you're putting your home on the market, how long is it taking something to sell? Well, average days on market right now is 48 days, right? 48 guys, average days on market, all price points. Median days is 25. So the median price point is right around that 600,000. So if your house is kind of in this 600,000 price point, you're probably going to be in that 25 days. If your house is maybe a lot higher price point or somewhere maybe a little bit outside of the normal circle, then maybe you're looking at about 48 days as average days on market. That's important because one, it gives you proper expectations, but two, you have to be very proactive in that 25 to 48 days that if you're not getting offers or talked about offers, or you're not getting second showings on your property, the reality is you're probably overpriced. And so you really need to maintain and watch it closely based upon the average days on market so you don't wait too long before you make aggressive price changes. Average showings, we're at 2.6 showings per week. So that's down this last month. And that makes sense. Honestly, looking at the August is typically one of the slower months of the year, actually. And so, just to see about a 12% decrease in showings, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. So we haven't changed dramatically in regards to the amount of showings per month. Average listed close price. This is encouraging. We're at 100.1. So, you know, you will see that the average closing costs are increasing based upon the price point. So here's a different. The main different reality is sellers are getting what they ask for, what they list it for. Right, average close price is 100.1%. So technically, you're getting 0.1% over what you're actually asking for. Though the caveat here is sellers are also contributing more towards buyer commission, or I'm sorry, yes, paying buyer agent commission still, even though they don't have to, they are. Uh, but this is really closing cost assistance. So we are seeing more closing cost assistance being given unless your house is going under contract that first weekend. So if it's going for contract the first weekend, you're probably not going to have to pay closing cost assistance. But if it's after that first weekend, there's a high probability that a buyer is going to be asking, and you may have to contribute. So just take a factor as you're looking at your numbers with that. Average sales price right now, 593. That's down just like a percent. So pretty much we're hovering right there at that 600,000 is the average sales price. So when you look at pockets in the area, if you're in a pocket that is above that price point, you really want to make sure you dive into the more of the hyper local market of your exact price point, your acreage, your above grade square footage, the year of your home, just so that you can really fine tune what the average days on market for your home is. So we're talking macro right now. Hyper local macro. Is that a word? Hyper local macro. We're just looking at the broad market here locally. But for your house specific, you want to look at the neighborhood. You want to look at your exact price point and what you actually have going on with your house versus the others. So I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have a soft market right now. That's really what it is. It's not a declining market dramatically. Some homes have had to drop their prices dramatically, getting a little bit closer to tax assessed value. Actually, guys, often homes were assuming that they would sell for about $100,000 over tax assessed value, and we are absolutely seeing that change. One, because the counties and the cities have increased the tax assessment. Okay, but then there's not as big of a buffer on a lot of houses. So some houses are kind of getting a little bit closer to tax assessment value. And I'm not saying use tax assessment value as your determining factor for what you sell your house for, but just know that is a thing, that some houses are getting a little bit closer right now to the tax assessed value. So it's a softening market, but it's also a very technical market. So if you're a seller in today's market, really the three P's are important. It's all about pricing, presentation, and patience. Okay, you got to have both. Pricing, super important. There used to be a market where you would look at the last 5 closed properties, and then you would maybe bump your value up a little bit, or just kind of match those. You don't want to go off of closed properties right now, because the reality is, 6 months ago was a different market. You really have to put more emphasis on the pendings and the under contracts right now. That's don't look at actives. All right, don't value the value of your home off of actives, but do look at what's going under contract. How fast did it go under contract? Did it go under contract within average days on market, right, within that 48 or 25 days? If so, it probably was showing a pretty active price. After close price is 100.1. Right. So that's what you want to focus on. What's going under contract? What's pending that is similar to yours? So that's one of the keys to pricing right now in this market. Presentation is so important, guys. There was a market where you wouldn't have to do as much work to the home just to prepare it, but you really need to now. Buyers they want want to move in ready home, but they also want amenities. They want a deck, they want a nice backyard. They want these things, so you're not wasting money by maintaining what you have, just to make sure that all that you have really is showcasing to the buyers, which is very important right now. We have it's called Renovate Now and Pay Later program called Revive. And we've had 2 sellers just this last month, utilize this service where, we fund all of the projects, we do the work, we do the mini flipping in a sense. I say mini because 'cause we're not doing a full flip, but, we're redoing bathrooms, kitchens, floors, paint, cosmetics, because to get that house sold, we need to do it. And a lot of people don't have the money to do it, but they have the equity. So that's where they use Revive just to be able to do all the work. And then we get paid back at closing. And the sellers are making a little bit more money, but also they're just getting the home sold. And that's often really just the biggest goal. So, buyers, let's talk about buyers right now. Buyers, it's all about interest rate. Okay. One, you have more homes to shop, which is great. You might get your closing cost assistance covered, which could be really good and helpful. Though I think one of the biggest things you're watching is the interest rates. And to be encouraged is we're about 20 basis points below in the last 2 weeks. And so we've seen interest rates coming down right now at this moment. I'm making the video. We're at the strongest buyer demand since 2022. Right now, we are the strongest buyer demand, meaning there's more applications, there's refinances that are going in, which a lot of these buyers have just been kind of on the sidelines waiting. And we are all hopeful that come October, we're going to see more of these sideline buyers coming out and shopping on the open market because the interest rates are down a little bit. Definitely down, the lowest right now since October 2024. So this is good. Overall, we're about 20% ahead of where we were last year in regards to volume of transactions, and so just more homes are being sold. Buyers are still getting picky, but one thing that my lender had said was even though there is a lot more buyer applications, a lot more buyers are not getting approved because of high consumer debt. So that's just one thing to be careful for. Don't go into extremely high consumer debt so that you can be qualified. And then just the last little tip before we close up here is just on refinances. It right now refinances I think are you'll see some kind of getting in the high fives to low sixes depending upon your debt to income ratio and all that good stuff. If you are going to be 1%, if you could refinance, the rule of thumb is you want to refinance when you're about 1% lower than what your current interest rate is. Try not to go anything lower than 0.75% because it doesn't really make financial sense because you're going to have to pay closing costs on the back of the principal balance. So the idea is, hey, if you have anything over 7% right now, it might be worth talking to the lender and just saying, hey, if I were to refinance, what could you potentially lock me in at right now? Because the interest rate basis points are down and they're locking in some pretty good interest rates at the moment. Will that last? We'll see. I don't know if it will, but right now it's pretty good. Well, guys, as you know, I'm always here to be able to serve you, help you thinking through sell, buy, invest, or just getting coffee and talking about real estate. Okay. Let me know how I can serve you. Put some things in the comment, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. Love to be able to help you guys out as we make smart decisions in the real estate market. God bless.